Sunday the 18th of August saw the 12th running of the Dereham Town Centre 5k. We arrived in good time, checked out the Dereham runners tent and collected our numbers to get ready for this wonderful 2-lap town centre road race. I filmed the whole race from a point of view camera, so I'm going to take you through what goes through my mind and body when racing a 5k. Dereham Town Centre 5k revisited. A race I've done every year since it started in 2011. Got perfect conditions today. It's about 16 degrees, very gentle breeze and blue Norfolk skies. So a rare example this of a town centre road race that is still put on by a running club rather than an events company. And I know it's getting harder and harder to do so because of various permissions and price increases on the infrastructure they have to put in. So a massive well done to Dereham runners and everybody involved for this race for taking it into this 12th event.
As for me, I warmed up, I felt rubbish, so I DNF'd. But this was John's day.
I'm hoping to enjoy the road race that takes place in a very special town to me where my ancestors lived and worked from the late 1700s onwards. And in terms of performance, I'd love to go sub 20 for the first time in several years here. So yes, you can tell the story of my running trajectory over the past decade and a half if you look at the times that I've run at this race since 2011. So going sub 20 again would be a huge step in the right direction for me. Takumi Sen 8's for me, most reliable thing I've got for running a 5k, nice low profile, light stripe pro foam. So they served me well so far, so hopefully serve me well today. So with 2024 being joy or frustration, let's see. And so we're off on the 2024 Dereham Town Centre 5k. Now I filmed the whole race with a point of view camera on my head, so I'm going to take you through the full course and the full race, telling you what was going through my mind and my body at each stage. So if you're interested in the psychology of running and how to tackle a 5k, I hope you find this video interesting. So we're setting off through the outer edge of the old town. Now in previous years where I've done this and I've been a bit slower, I found this part of the race a little bit congested. But as you can see here, there's plenty of room for people to overtake and everybody can get into their own pace quite quickly. Now just past this garage on the left, we're going to swing a left, and this part of the course on the first kilometre is actually, I won't say it's a hill, well, it certainly isn't a hill, it's a little bit of a drag as you go up in a minute past where the recreation ground is on the left, where the race actually finishes. And it's on this part of the course where in the past I've started panicking a little bit, I've started trying to surge past people and try and get on pace. Today I've taken the decision not to look at my watch for a good few minutes and just to get into what feels comfortably strong 5k effort. It doesn't mean I'm going flat out, doesn't mean I'm going to start breathing heavily or surging, it just means I'm going to run at a pace I think I can maintain and possibly pick up a little bit in the final few kilometres. Just a little note here, you may see traffic coming in the opposite direction, but the full course of the race was on closed roads. So big credit there to Dereham runners and our councils and everybody else who gave permission. They had a completely traffic-free 5k road route. Lots of support, as you can see, people on the left who will then scoot through the little gate and watch the finish of the race. It's a perfect blend of me of support around the course without the overwhelming crowds you sometimes get in big city races. So you might have seen there, I've had my first glance at my Coros sports watch. I sometimes think in races it's best to ignore these things, but it is sort of compulsive to look at. I think it said something like 6:35 pace at the time, with sub 20 pace being 6:25, 6:26. I've learned over the years not to pay any attention to what the watch is saying at any individual point. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos where people have been governed by the watch and backed off or surged. So I just continue running the race I plan to run. Dawn and I had talked beforehand about maybe covering the watch using like a wristband or something. We haven't got around to having one. So what do you think? Do you prefer to pay attention to your watch in the race? Do you let it guide you? Or do you just use it to collect data and then analyse it after the race? I sometimes wish I could have the watch with absolutely no display on it, just run the race to feel, but have all the data to look through and analyse afterwards. So this section here, we're still continuing a little bit of a climb. I mean, it's hardly anything, most people wouldn't notice it, but for me it is generally the slowest kilometre of the race. I've latched onto the back of these two chaps who look like they know the way around a road race, veteran runners, and I'm just using them to pace off, give myself something to concentrate on as I continue to work, but not work too hard, up past Morrison's and up to the next left turning, which is coming up in a little while. Just about to take the next left here onto Wellington Street, and shortly after this we'll see what the time is for the first kilometre. There's usually a sign up on a post on the left. So I just glanced down at my watch and I see I'm on 4:08 for the first kilometre. Now what I'm going to do throughout this race is put up the comparison. You can see there I was 4 seconds quicker at this stage last year when I ended with a finishing time of 2012. So I'm 4 seconds off when I did 2012. Can I pull it round? I'm not panicking at this stage. What will be, I think I've taken a little bit more control on the first kilometre, as I said earlier, and we're going to try and shift through the gears. So just about to swing our third left of the race as we head in towards Dereham Town Centre. This is a bit once I've turned the corner, because I'm not the best corner turner, as I like to use these sections, I think it's about 200 yards here, to put in a little bit of surge, up the pace and try and run with good form. So I can feel as we get into kilometre 2 that I have upped the effort level a little bit and hopefully up the pace too. You see we swing a right and we're heading down something called Norwich Street, which becomes Norwich Road and surprisingly used to lead to Norwich. And many years ago, well about 170 years ago, my ancestors actually had a pub down this very street. So you can see one reason why I enjoy coming back here. And then another right here as you enter Dereham's High Street, and you can see on the other side of those barriers the faster runners going through. I think the winner this year did around 15:20, actually broke his own course record from last year, so well done him. So you get a sense of speed as you're running through the town centre, fast runners coming the other way. Now that, viewers, apart from being the sound of my breathing at coming up to 2k, was the sound of the church bells. It gave me a real lift. I know people find different motivations in races, but to hear those bells that have been heard by my ancestors over several centuries just gave me, well, as I said, a lift at that point in the race. So we're heading to the town's marketplace now and coming up to what's probably the trickiest bit of the course as we swing a left and go round on ourselves once again, so practically a 180-degree turn. But now the next kilometre is basically all in one direction with nothing to disturb your flow. We're just going to come up to the 2 kilometre marker in a minute. So here we are, just passing the 2k marker, and as you can see I've clawed back a couple of seconds. 8:10 this year as opposed to 8:08 last year. You can still see runners in front of me. I've got people to track, people to try and get closer to and overtake, so all's going well at the minute. As I said earlier, a nice long stretch of road where you can get into rhythm, you can maintain good form. There's no twists or turns particularly on this part of the course. It is my favourite bit of the course for picking up speed, and I'm taking advantage of it now, and I hope to take advantage of it on the second loop. As you can see, I'm catching people up and overtaking them. At this stage, in terms of sub 20, I'm in two minds. It might happen, I might be able to drop the hammer a bit more on the second loop, or I might just be able to hold this pace or fade slightly. Either way, I'm really enjoying this. Everybody finds their own niche in running. It might be sprinting, it might be track running, it might be running very long distance on the trails, it might even be fell running. But for me, nothing actually beats the joy of a road race, particularly in a town. I was fortunate enough early in the year to run the Bounty 10k, which started and finished around the town centre, and I'm so enjoying this particular town centre race. It really does something for me. What's your particular favourite type of racing? Does town centre racing do it for you? So we can see we're now passing the garage that we passed right near the start. We're about to swing a left again and start the drag up past the Morrison's supermarket a little bit on the left. That's the crowd support again on the left, with the recreation ground on the left. That's where we're going to finish the race. So we've got one big loop of the town to do before we cut into that recreation ground and actually a grass finish, which obviously we'll come on to later. Going by this chap here, I think he's actually wearing a GoPro strapped to his chest. I'm not sure if he's making a video, got a YouTube channel. If you are local and know who he is, please let me know so I can check out any video he's made of this race. Just about to pass another group of runners here at the 3 kilometre point, and you can see as a comparison, it's the first sub 4 minute kilometre of the course. I am at the exact same time as I was last year. So remember last year I ran 2012 here, so at 3k I'm on the exact pace I was last year. So can I make up those extra 13 seconds to go sub 20? So if you've ever raced a 5k, you will know that the 4th kilometre is where the race is won or lost in terms of any personal targets you might have. So it's really hard to keep pushing up. I decided here, because I was still outside my target and on the same pace as I was on last year when I ran 2012, that this kilometre was going to be my race. The last kilometre, as maybe if you're watching it best day, you'll often hear, it doesn't count. The last kilometre looks after itself. Anybody can push there. It's about pushing now when my legs are hurting. My breathing is getting very laboured. In fact, if you want to hear my breathing at this point, here it goes. So as I say these days, giving it the full send, still going past a couple of people, although the chap I've just passed on the left will feature right at the end of the race too, so he's running a good strong effort as well as myself. So yeah, well into the 4th kilometre now. It is one that features those left-hand bends, right-hand bends, right-hand bends, and just before the U-turn in the marketplace in the town centre. So we've really got to push to still have a hope of breaking that 20 minutes, a time I haven't run on this course since 2016. Just sweeping around right onto Norwich Street again, you can see that the field is getting a little bit sparser, but there's always somebody in sight, somebody to try and push and get on their shoulder and go past and focus on the next runner ahead. So you can see the chap in the Lonely Goat vest and the colourful shorts has come past me again. We're going to trade places a few times at the end of this race, pushing each other on. So here we are back in the town centre. You can see runners coming the other way, going along the high street into the marketplace, and then very soon we'll have the turn round at the lamppost at the far end of marketplace. So what a difference a year and a kilometre makes. Here we can see I've managed to push on in that 4th kilometre, as I mentioned. 16:13 last year, which became a 2012, 16:05 this year. Can I run what still needs to be the fastest kilometre of the race? I'll need to run this final kilometre in 3:54 or better to dip under 20 minutes. But as I said, once we turn round this U-turn here, it's full steam ahead right to the finish line. So let's give it our best effort and see if we can finally break 20 minutes at the Dereham Town Centre 5k. So back along to the high streets, powering along, and this is where the thoughts of what we do this for swim through my head. Running every day since the race last year, twice a day on many days, but not just the running, all the hours and hours I spent doing strength work, doing mobility, doing conditioning, going to see a running specialist to sort out my technique, thinking about running, thinking about my nutrition, thinking about my hydration, all those elements that are going in to hopefully squeeze a few seconds off my time here and improve my running performance just generally. There's no point putting all those hours in if mentally and physically you're just going to fade and fold in your cards during the race when it really matters. So a few minutes of pain here could mean days of happiness and pride in the following weeks to come. Road running's a funny old game, isn't it? Because 20 minutes, 19:59, 20:01 is an entirely arbitrary set of numbers. We set ourselves targets, we want to achieve them. But really, in the great scheme of things, it matters to no one apart from me what time I run here. But we can see I must be doing well. We've got Lonely Goat appearing on the right there. I'm going to try and get onto him and try and pass a few runners. We're now passing some runners who are still on the first loop, so well done them. Well done again, Dereham runners, for putting on a race that includes everybody, well into the several hundreds of runners here. So we're pushing, pushing, pushing. So just passing the point here where the race started, I take a glance at my watch. We're just on 19 minutes. Mentally, I've given myself 30 seconds to get to the point where we're going to turn a left in the minute to do the final bit of the course across the recreation ground, and 30 seconds to do that final sprint. It is just over 100 metres, it is on grass, so hopefully those calculations mean I can just squeeze under 20 minutes. Still runners to tack onto and try and pass. Look at my watch again, every second counts. So swing your left here into the recreation ground. We do need to be careful when coming in here. And yes, if you're clumsy runner like me, you will stumble there. So here we are, here comes Mr. Lonely Goat again, and we've got the final sprint now. I can just see the clock in the distance. It's in the 1940s, just to get over to 1950s. Sprinting isn't the greatest thing in my armoury. It is for some other people, as you can see, but those seconds are ticking away. I'm aware I might have a little cushion because this is a chip-to-chip timed race. We're ticking over, just over 20 minutes as we cross the finish line. Fingers crossed that that will actually map onto a sub 20, but who knows? My watch actually says 19:59.71, but again, I want to start my watch maybe just a little earlier and stop it a little later so I don't have disappointment of thinking I've done a certain time, then having 2 or 3 seconds added on. So I'm going to have to await getting back to the car, look at my phone, because we'll get the results instantly from total race timing. Very disappointing to see Dawn at the end. She DNF'd, but like me at the Manchester Marathon, kept out of sight not to put each other off our races. So when the final account came in, my official time was 1955.9, or rounded up to 1956 for power of 10 purposes. I can't tell you how delighted I am with this performance. All those years in the making, 8 years since I ran under 20 minutes here, coming back year after year, being a little bit disappointed with my time. As I said, hours and hours, days and days of training, all now worth it for this performance. It was great after the race to stick around and chat to some friends we have on the local running scene here, and then to enjoy other runners coming in. So I'm not going to do a full race debrief here. I'm going to save that for another video, but I hope you've enjoyed me taking you through things that go through my mind and body when executing a 5K. If you have, please consider giving this video a like, and if you'd like to see our future races, parkruns and training, then please consider subscribing to the channel. So until next time, keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.